Muhammad, messenger of God, born about 570 in the Common Era, almost an exact contemporary of Pope Gregory the Great, and, like Gregory, associated with another great chant tradition, both associated with great Abrahamic traditions springing forth, arguably, out of the Jewish tradition. In Gregory's case, a proponent of Christianity, and in Muhammad's, the founder of Islam. Muhammad was a traveler in his youth on the trade routes from Mecca up into the Levant, the eastern area of the Mediterranean, up to Syria, where it is said he met, actually, an historian Christian, Bahira, who identified him, Muhammad, as a key person in the ongoing evolution of religious thought. We're in Arabia, hot, and up to this point, adjacent to many of the developments of civilization. Muhammad, in his travels, becomes wealthy, is allied to a rich widow, Khadijah, and is asked to reset the stone in the Kaaba, which is at this point a pagan shrine. But Muhammad has thoughts of monotheism, meditating in the cave of Hira. And one day, the angel Gabriel appears to him in 610. Recite, and a new religion of submission. His nephew Ali is soon a proponent, as is his wife. He takes a night journey to a rock in Jerusalem, wherein is commemorated the Dome of the Rock, the third holiest site in Islam, and there it is. But ultimately, as he preaches this new religion, the authorities in Mecca are uncertain. He must flee to Medina, but then comes back with a military triumph and shows mercy on Mecca. Mecca is cleansed of its idols surrounding the Kaaba, and a new religion, Islam, with 5 pillars. Amongst them, a call to prayer 5 times a day. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. One is likely to hear multiple chantings of this text. Muhammad himself takes his leave, but the religion takes off, and Arabia becomes newly unified under this new monotheistic religion of submission.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
There are many microtonal variants, but here's one. Do, so, fa, me, re, do, re, me, fa, so, forte. The Quran is written down and recited, and the word spreads out, first from Mecca and Medina across the Hijaz, the western, more moderate part of Arabia, and from there towards the central Arabian deserts. The religion, of course, has its connections with Judaism and Christianity, all tracing their lineage back to Abraham. But in the Arab case, connecting with the older son Ishmael, who is identified as the almost sacrificed one. From Central Arabia, the more conservative nomadic tribes are converted, partially via the sword. Khalid, the general, a key element, the notion of the jihad, the holy war, and soon the Arabian Peninsula is all Islamic, and that includes Yemen in the south, with its own connections to the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition, as Saba, the ancient kingdom of Sheba, whence the Queen of Sheba who visited King Solomon. Here, a call and response song in 3/4, featuring flute and now the lute, the oud of Islamic tradition, the king of instruments, a necked string, pear-shaped wonder. And notice the wonderful microtonal intonation once more. The religion spreads out further to Persia, Iran, with its own varied climates and mountain barriers, ensuing a distinct culture going back certainly to Cyrus the Great and before, with its own indigenous religion, Zoroastrianism, and its comfortableness with depiction, unlike most of the Islamic tradition, where arabesque is key, its own instrumental tradition featuring the santur, hammered dulcimer. Next, Syria, heard musically here in a duet between canon and oud. We know the oud as the lute of the Middle East, and the canon, like the santur, a box of strings, and like the piano, a rule maker, canon law of music. A rich Syrian tradition of Ugarit and the Phoenicians, followed by the Greeks and the Romans and those almost Romans of the Greek, Eastern, Byzantine Roman Empire. But things will change. Abu Bakr, who has succeeded Muhammad, dies after 2 years. Umar takes over, and it is not long before Syria is in the crosshairs. General Khalid is on the move again via Mesopotamia, and in the Battle of Yarmouk in the Yarmouk Valley, the conquest of Syria. Khalid dies several years later, as does Umar. Uthman is the new caliph. A codification of the Quran takes place, and Islam continues on the move, moving into Egypt and harassing the Anatolian Peninsula. Upon the death of Uthman, his grave is recently desecrated by the Saudis. Ali takes over. Ali's reign is short. Civil war breaks out. The split between the Sunni and Shiite Muslims, Islamic people, takes place to the present day. And yet another companion of Muhammad, Muawiyah, takes over. But he moves the capital to Damascus, and indeed Damascus becomes a new center of culture, including in that culture Al-Farabi, a philosopher and musician writing a book on music, even put on money, and considered by many to be second only to Aristotle as the wisdom of the ongoing tradition through the Middle Ages. Here we hear a simple shepherd's tune, but hardly a simple culture. A wonderful F Dorian of so, 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 la, te, so, fa, me, re, do. South of Syria and north of Arabia, Palestine, aka Israel, the Jews having been semi-scattered by the Emperor Titus in 70 AD. And here we hear in the traditional homeland of Jesus a Nazareth dance in Arabic, Phrygian scale, exotic, synthetic of drone G, do, ra, me, mi, fi, wonderful. Farther still to North Africa, beyond Egypt, here in Tunisia, a new Islamic culture founded around the newly founded city of Kairan. Again, a new rich culture on an old one, the site of Carthage and Roman ruins. Uqba ibn Nafi conquers Tunisia, founding the city of Kairan. And we've heard musically two selections tinged by native African influences. The Jilted Girl, and now a wedding song. This girl did not get jilted. From here, farther west to another very geographical and culturally rich country, Morocco, at the gates of the Mediterranean. The Strait of Gibraltar, the high Atlas Mountains, highest in the soon-to-be Arab world, starting with the Berber cultures, continuing with Roman influences, and now, once again, Islamic. Here we're hearing some folk music featuring several plucked rebabs, and again, somewhat definitely heterophonic, one instrument almost contrapuntally chasing another, and we have the use of maqams, the scales of the Arab world. They're called daska in the Persian manifestation, starting with a free improvisation. Music of India will be along these lines as well, and now finally getting into more of a consistent groove in 4/4 with the Darabeka drum as a beat cycle. And ain't it wonderful? This will be considered part of what's known as Andalusian music, as Islamic culture will go over the Strait of Gibraltar and make a foothold in Europe, in Spain. And the Spanish music that is established will be re-imported into Morocco and preserved. Here, a wonderful folk song, Lala Fatima. It is a love song, and by now a new ruler, Yazid I, the son of Muawiyah, and this is now the Umayyad dynasty, the early rulers of the Islamic world, were associates of Muhammad and chosen on merit, and now we have potentially a hereditary aristocracy. Where are we going with this? The music has aspects of F-sharp, Phrygian, and Dorian, going down me, me, ra, do, do, but then also me, me, re, me, fa. Second melody is a minor third higher, me, fa, so, fa, me, fa, so, fa, and a third higher still, which you'll hear in a second recording.
ولا
followed by a wonderful dance with multiple call and response oboes. And 2 iterations of the Rabab spike fiddle, both far superior to mine. Check the wonderful heterophony of this voice with the instrument. And here, as wonderfully mournful and evocative as any cellist, with great glissandi between notes.